Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Town of Babylon Zoning Board of Appeals. Please listen to the rules and procedures we're going to follow this evening for the applications and the hearing.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Town of Babylon Zoning Board of Appeals. The following is the procedure that will be followed tonight. The matters will be called in the order they appear on the calendar, with adjourned matters being called at the end of the regularly scheduled matters. Matters cannot be heard prior to their published scheduled time. When your matter is called, please submit the affidavit of posting to the secretary and proceed to the podium and give your name and address. The chairperson will then swear you in and read into the record information we have from your application, comments from various town departments, and any correspondence received on your application. The chairperson will then ask you to make whatever presentation you wish to make to the board. After you have made your presentation, the board will ask whatever questions the board deems appropriate, and then we will ask for comments from the public. If you wish to speak for or against an application, we ask that you wait until you're acknowledged. Come forward, give us your name and address, tell us where your property is in relation to the property that's in question tonight, and then please direct your comments to the board, not the applicant or the applicant's representative. We have to keep a record, and we cannot do that if there are people talking over each other or cross conversations. If someone has spoken for or against an application, and they have said exactly the same thing that you wish to say, it will have the same force and effect in the record if you give your name and address, are sworn in, and say that you join in those comments. If you have anything additional to say, please don't hesitate to do so, but keep in mind that you will be given only one opportunity to speak. After the public has spoken, the board may ask the applicant to come back to answer any questions that may have come up as a result of the public comments, or for the applicant to summarize. When the applicant comes back to answer any additional questions, if that happens, that does not start a second round of public comments. Once the matter has been heard, various things may occur. The board may decide the application immediately. It may reserve decision. If the board reserves decision, that does not mean the matter is approved or denied. It just means that the board needs more time to decide, may want to go out and look at the site again, or might want to review the documents and testimony further before making a decision. In either event, the applicant will receive the board's decision in writing shortly after the board makes its decision. If the application is approved, that does not mean that you can then go ahead and start construction or whatever it is that you requested from the board. You will have to wait for the building permit to be obtained from the building department before your go-ahead. On some occasions, the matter may be continued for another night. If it is continued, in most cases it will be for the submission of documents, a new survey, new plans, or something of that nature. If that's the case, no one needs to come back on the new date. The documents will be submitted and no further testimony will be taken. On rare occasions, a matter may be continued for future testimony. If that's the case, then people would have to come back to testify. If matters are adjourned at an open meeting on the scheduled date of hearing, no further notice need be given unless specifically required by the board on the date the adjournment is granted. 3 rules that may affect your ability to proceed tonight. 1. If the sign was not posted for 10 days, we cannot hold the hearing tonight. 2. If you commence this proceeding while you own the property, but no longer own the property, and you are here now to continue with the application, you will need either the written consent of the new owner or the new owner to be present for the hearing. This situation could come about if you sold your house or building, money was held in escrow at closing for a certificate of occupancy or permit, and you're here tonight to clear that up. Lastly, if your application is a commercial application and it's other than a renewal, and there is more than one tenant in the building, then you need your landlord to be here. Is there any applicant that has any difficulty with those situations and would need an adjournment tonight?
Is there anyone here that would need an adjournment? For the record, there are none. Would you please join the board in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America First application, 22-136, Damian Rochester. We need your name and address for the record, please. And do you affirm to tell the truth? For the record, we have a planning board memorandum dated September 8th, 2022. We have a Department of Environmental Control memorandum dated September 12th, 2022. If approved, this application may not result in significant environmental impact. We also have a survey by Gerald T. O'Buckley dated November 11th, 2018, and the tax map as an area map. And
Mr. Chairman, we have 4 photographs.
what would you like to tell us about this application? Okay, so you're looking to put a staircase down there and all new railings? Okay, there's also, in the picture, there's a post and beam on the back of the deck, straight up, and a beam across? What is that?
That was what happened was I was doing something in the backyard and I tied tarp on top to make shade. That's nothing, that's covered.
Okay, so that's going to be removed when you do the railings and the staircase?
Yes.
Okay. On the Planning Division memorandum, it states that, would you agree not to further enclose the deck above or below?
Yes.
Okay, if this is approved. Okay. Are there any more questions from the board? Would anyone like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none. Okay, if you agree on not to further enclose the deck above or below, correct? Okay. I would like to make a motion to approve application 22-136.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Application 22-140, Christopher Perez.
That's all right.
Okay, we're back
Yeah.
in action.
Way
Name and
down.
address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Mary Rose Riley, president of the firm Ione Renaissance. We're located at 738 Smithtown Bypass, Smithtown, New York. I represent the homeowner Christopher Perez regarding premises at 225 Maple Court in Copeg. Property is located in Zone Residence C. We are before you requesting a variance to
You
maintain...
affirm to tell the truth?
Of course, yes.
Okay, excuse me, let me read these.
Go right ahead.
forms into record. We have a Planning Development Division memorandum dated September 8th, 2022. Department of Environmental Control memorandum dated September 12th, 2022, stating that this application may not result in significant environmental impact. We also have a survey by Island-Wide Land Surveyors dated April 7th, 2015, a tax map as an area map.
Mr. Chairman, we have 8 photographs.
What would you like to tell us again?
Thank you. We are requesting a variance to maintain an enclosed porch, seeking to reduce the rear yard setback from the required 30 feet to 14.2 feet. When Mr. Perez purchased this home in 2015, The enclosed porch was existing. As he made cosmetic improvements to the older home, the porch was included in the updates. He only discovered the porch was not CO'd when he applied for an in-ground pool this past spring. As you can see from the survey, the home is situated fairly far back on the property, and it is currently in a non-conforming location with an existing rear yard setback of 28.2 to the main house. It is located on a street of variably sized and situated homes, and on his side of the street, his home is set the furthest back, at least double from what the others along that street side are. We believe this is not a substantial request and will not have any adverse effect on the neighborhood. As I said, the homes are all various sizes and the lots are various sizes as well. The home is clean and well kept. To my knowledge, the neighbors have no objections to this porch, and I do have some letters from his neighbors attesting to this fact. Who do I give them to?
Okay, thank you. Turn the hearing over to Mr. Dellavecchia.
So when Mr. Perez purchased the property, it was already built?
Yes,
And then I guess through the years, when he updated, they just applied siding to it?
siding and updated the windows and just made it match the rest of the house as he updated everything else.
Is there heat inside of the sunroom?
I don't believe there is.
Would he agree to make sure that it stays unheated?
I can inform him of that, yes.
Okay. There's electric in there, correct?
I believe there is, yes.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the board? Is there anyone?
Yes, they are actually finishing it up now. We do have a permit for that, and that is what brought this to light. When he filed for that, it was discovered that this rear porch addition was not CO'd.
Is the pool in now?
Probably, I believe it is. I don't think he's going to get to use it, but I think it's in.
Let's get a heater.
Would anyone like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve application 22-140 with the condition that the sunroom remains unheated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Application 22-145, Stephen and Diana Serragano.
Good evening. I'm Stephen Serragano, 229 Bedell Street, West Babylon, New York.
Do you affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
For the record, we have a Planning Division memorandum dated September 8th, 2022. We have a Department of Environmental Control memorandum dated September 12th, 2022. If approved, this application may not result in significant environmental impact. We also have a survey by Michael K. Wicks dated, where is the date on this one? May 11th, 2022, a tax map as an area map, and,
Chairman, we have 4 photographs.
okay, thank you. What would you like to tell us about this application?
I'm looking for a variance for a new pool, patio, and existing deck.
Okay. Turn the hearing over to Ms. McCullough.
When was the deck built?
I'm sorry?
The existing deck?
Yes.
How long ago was it built? Many years ago, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Is there any way to cut back on some of the decking?
I have cut back on part of the decking. I'm not sure what you're exactly looking at the photo, but the north end side of the deck has been removed.
Okay. So with that removal, are you planning to replace that with the pavers?
With that removal, that's where the pool is going to go, and then the pavers are going to go around that. Yes,
And do you agree to have the pavers 2 feet off the property line?
yes.
Okay. Do you know how, the height of this deck that's currently there?
17 inches off the ground.
What else is back there besides the deck and then the new pool that you're putting back there? You have any sheds or anything? Any other?
Anything that's there is all going to be coming down, yes.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the board? Is there anyone here that would be like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none.
All right. Make a motion to approve application number 22-145 with the condition that the pavers are at least 2 feet off the property line.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Application 22-139, Juan Garcia. Name and address for the record, please.
Michael Palumba, architect, 80 Elizabeth Drive, Bethpage, New York, 11714.
You affirm to tell the truth.
Yes, I do.
For the record, we have a Planning Division memorandum dated September 9th, 2022. We have a Department of Environmental Control memorandum dated September 12th, 2022. If approved, this application may not result in significant environmental impact. We have a survey by A. Agudro Surveying dated May 7th, 2021, a tax map as an area map.
Chairman, there's no photographs. We have a site plan by Michael J. Paloma dated May 20th, 2021.
Okay. What would you like to tell us about
Yeah,
this application?
good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm appearing on behalf of Juan Garcia, 1234 Jackson Avenue, Lindenhurst, New York. We are requesting a variance for a proposed two-car detached garage, which is located in a Residence C zoning district and does not have the minimum required side or rear yard setback of 6 feet. Proposing a side and rear yard setback of 4.4 feet. The height of the garage will be in compliance with the maximum permitted height of 14 feet, and the garage will be fire rated as required by New York State Building Code. The proposed garage will be for storage use only, and there will be there's no intent on using this in any form of habitable space, and we would have no issue with the board conditioning the application as such. Property is well maintained. The proposed structure will be consistent with the character of the neighborhood, and that completes our application.
Turn this hearing over to Mr. Rigney.
The only question I did have was regards to the height. The height at 15 feet, the original plan was way too high. So if you agree to the 14, I'm okay with the garage.
Yes, actually, the question I had also is I received the letter noting that our plans should have the 14-foot maximum height. If they don't, I have 3 sets of sealed plans for you this evening that
We'll
show
take it-
14 feet.
Yeah, we'll take a set.
That's
just to have
how
it.
it was submitted, so I don't know if there was a,
If you have an extra, we'll take it. You
I have
submit-
3 sets for you. But that's how it was submitted, so I'm not sure if there was a discrepancy there.
Okay. The only other question I have, with that 8x8 deck, would you agree not to enclose that deck?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The 8x8 deck is as of right, it's not before you, it meets the zoning, but we would have no problem with the condition that it should not be roofed over or enclosed in any way. That's not a problem at all. Also note there was an existing shed on the property, that's being removed. He's just keeping that right now for storage until this gets built.
That answers that question.
What's the garage going to be used for?
Storage, cars, and storage. It's not going to be any form of habitable space at all.
No heat, no electric in
None
there?
at all, none at all. And heat is not even permitted in the garage,
Right,
so.
just want to make sure. All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I got no further questions.
Any more questions from the board? Would anyone like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve application 22-139 with the condition that the height of the garage be at 14 feet, not heated, no electric, and the rear deck not be enclosed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. With the board's permission, may I submit the?
Yes, please. Application 22-141, Dean Powell.
Kurt Jacobs, architect, 201 Northwest Drive, Farmingdale, New York.
Affirm to tell the truth.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. For the record, we have a Planning Division memorandum dated September 9th, 2022. We have a Department of Environmental Control memorandum dated September 12th, 2022, that this application, if approved, may not result in significant environmental impact. We have a survey by Island-Wide Surveyors dated February 24th, 1955, and a tax map as an area map.
And we have 4 photographs, Mr. Chairman, and a site plan by Kurt Jacobs dated March 14, 2022.
What would you like to tell us about this application?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Dean Powell of 6 Belinda Court has asked me to appear before you with his variance requests. They have owned the house for 9 years. They propose to add a 2-story addition on the south side of their dwelling. The first floor will consist of an attached garage, and the second floor will have a master bedroom, bathroom, and walk-in closet. Looking at the existing footprint of the house on the property, the house wasn't built parallel with the property lines. That's the reason why we're here. This proposed addition creates a side yard and side yard aggregate variances. We are proposing an 8-foot side yard at the narrowest point of the setback. At the furthest point from the setback, we have a 12-foot side yard. So this shortage of 2 feet goes for approximately half of the proposed garage. After halfway, it conforms to the side yard setback. The proposed aggregate side yard at the narrowest point is 21.25 feet with 25 feet required. At the widest point, the setback will be a little over 25 feet. The Powells have 4 children, and the additional bedroom is desperately required. If you look at the floor plan, there's 3 bedrooms, and they're all small. Even what they consider the master is very small. As far as the attached garage, it won't be setting a precedent in the neighborhood. There's at least 4 houses on Belinda Court that has an attached garage, and one has a 2-car attached garage. So on behalf of the Powells, we respectfully request the granting of this variance. Thank you.
Turn the hearing over to Mr. Shepherd.
You won't have any habitable space in the garage?
No, sir.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions from the board? Would anyone like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve application 22-141.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night.
Application 22-144, Craig Seemack.
Good afternoon.
Name and address for the record, please.
I'm Juan Lopez. I'm the expediter. My address is 2470 Great Neck Road, Copiague, New York, 11726.
You affirm to tell the truth.
Absolutely, I do.
For the record, we have a Planning Division memorandum dated September 9th, 2022. We have a Department of Environmental Control memorandum dated September 13th, 2022. Department recommends there's some conditions the Department of Environmental Control is recommending. We have a Suffolk County Department of Environmental and Planning memorandum stating this is a decision of local determination. And we have a survey by Peter J. Brabazon dated 9/14/1967. I believe a site plan here. This is also a survey, okay, and a tax map as an area map.
And we have 3 photographs, Mr. Chairman, and also a site plan by James Allen Lerner, dated July 9th, 2022.
Okay. What would you like to tell us about this application?
Well, my client has a very small house. He's proposing to convert the garage that he has right now in order to, he's a young guy, his family's growing, so he's willing to propose to the town to convert that garage. And since he has a lot of space on the other sides of the house, he will love to, the house next to him, he has the same exact 2 garage in front of the house, kind of front of the house, so he liked that idea, so I'm proposing that to the town also, see if we can get that on his own property.
I'll turn the hearing over to Mr. Dellavecchia.
So you're trying to turn the attached garage into a living space?
No, oh yeah, the attached garage that is right now, he's wanting to convert it, since he already had only 3 bedrooms in his house. He just got married, he's thinking about growing his family.
So that would make it 4?
Yes,
And you want to add a bathroom?
yes.
And then the detached garage, what is the need for such a big garage?
Well, he's a young guy, he got beautiful cars, he financially, he is okay. So he's willing to have his nice tool cars and, bring it inside that garage. He don't want to leave his cars outside.
So I guess according to the plans, you would like to proceed with 8-foot garage doors?
We're gonna go to the 7.
You're gonna go to the 7?
Yes.
And now, do you guys need a curb cut along Great Neck?
Pretty much. I mean, it's a beautiful cut that he has right now for the other, but he just like to leave it. And of course, for the new garages, he will need to cut the curve.
'Cause I know this board, we don't really like second curb cuts at all.
Well, we was also thinking, because I'm discussing that with the plan examiner, another, he's the owner. I'm sorry. You want to talk about? They're asking question about the cutting the curve. You want to come in? Say your name and
Name and address for the record, please.
Craig Simak, 2 Marlin Drive, Copiague, New York.
Affirm to tell the truth.
I do.
Okay, go right ahead.
So what was the question?
Go ahead.
Repeat the question, please. I want him to.
And we don't normally approve second curb cuts.
Okay,
I do understand that it's on separate blocks,
right.
so that actually helps you in your favor, but in general, we don't normally approve them.
Yeah, that was my understanding, was that I have 2 front yards. And anyway, and there's like 2 houses down, there's another house that has a detached garage on their property, similar in size to what I want to do. And I just need more living space. The house is small as it is, and I have all that dead space.
Okay, so the accessibility for the second driveway will be just for the garage then?
Correct.
And the existing driveway will just be in front of the house?
Correct.
Okay. You need a highway permit to consider that curb
Yeah.
cut anyway, right?
Yeah, you need a highway engineering permit.
Okay.
curb cut. And then the garage, do you agree that it's gonna be for storage use only, no heat, no plumbing?
Correct.
You're not gonna-
Yes. No, just electric.
Re-advertised.
Since the existing driveway isn't going to be used for your garage anymore,
Right.
would you be able to maybe turn that to grass? Landscape it, and then
Be
the
too
other one
much
would be
money.
driveway?
I spent like, a lot just to redo the driveway. Now to cover it with grass and then have to redo my sprinkler system would be an additional expense. Plus, honestly, like I want to be able to park, the entrance to the house is right there. The main entrance to the house is right at the front where the driveway is. So, the garage is really going to be used mostly for like storage. So, although I may keep one car in there, it is more for storage than anything else. I just need more living space in the house itself. So chances are I'll still use the main driveway more so as I go in and out of the house.
Your everyday cars, I guess.
Yes.
So then what about reducing the size of the garage to the 500, and then you won't even need variance number 2? You'll only be reducing it 125 square feet.
Well, I have a 2-car garage now that's packed. And like I can't imagine using less space than that. Like I don't have room for my cars as it in a 2-car garage as it is. So like I really need the space. So like 1 car maybe I'll put in there and the rest is storage.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
So you're considering to change the 8-foot garage doors to 7 feet. I believe that we need to re-advertise for that? Or- Okay, so we need another set of plans to show that the garage doors are 7 feet and not 8 feet.
Absolutely.
Okay,
What size are my current garage doors?
so that's what we need in the curb cut.
We're perfectly good.
We're gonna reserve a decision on this application at this point. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? I'm sorry. Okay. You just have a seat.
Good evening. Melissa Anglin.
Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, good evening. Melissa Anglin. I live on 5 Gate, right behind him,
Okay.
5 Gateway Drive.
You affirm to tell the truth, right?
Oh,
Your
yes, I-
address, please?
5 Gateway Drive.
Thank you, I'm
Copac.
sorry.
I'm here because I'm very confused of what he wants to do, and because I've been living in my house for 25 years, I have water view rights. So, I'm not too sure what he, it's hard for me to understand how he wants to put his garage on the left side of his house, which is blocking my view of the water. So my house was built in 1967, which I have the deed that says water view rights. So, I know he said he needs he wants to expand his family and everything else, but you're gonna lose value of my house of how much, let me say, I'm just afraid that I'm gonna lose value of what if I do ever sell the house, it's not gonna look nice.
And your home is
That's me,
on the corner?
yes.
Okay, I see. All right. So if he puts a garage over here on his property,
And then I don't know how he's gonna do the driveway, if he's coming off South Great Neck Road, there's a stop sign, and it's very short. And I have a gated fence going the whole around the property. It's a very busy street, and I don't know how he's gonna, that's why I just see the layout, how he's gonna build the garage.
and
So,
your fence around your property is how high?
4 feet,
4 feet? All the way around the back also?
all the way
by-
around the front. I don't have my driveway gate, I don't have a driveway gate.
Okay. All right. I'm sure we can get you some information on where exactly the
Yes.
the garage is going to be and where curb
And,
cut,
you
we
know,
could do that?
I don't want him to go too high. Like I said, I have water view on my deed, so I have the privilege not to anybody to go higher in front of me.
Right. Okay. What we'd like you to do is, after the hearing, you could just sit down with Mr. Simak, and he'll show you exactly where the property is going to be, and I'm sure you can come to an agreement together.
Sure.
Okay? And we'll take it into consideration for the record.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard? Would you like to address this?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Well, basically, we'll hope when we finish, we'll have the opportunity to show the lady that it won't be the height, and I don't believe it's going to affect the view at all, since it's not going to be a huge high garage. It's just going to be a very regular garage, and it's going to be very close to his house, so it won't affect at all the view of the property of the lady.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to reserve decision. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none. Are there any other questions from the board? Okay, we're going to reserve this decision, and we're going to wait another set of plans to show the garage doors also.
Absolutely.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you very much.
All right,
You have a
thank you.
wonderful night.
Thank you. Excuse me. This hearing is still going. If you can go outside with that. Thank you. Application 22-138, Bola Operating LI Corp. Okay, I got a lot. Name and address for the record, please.
Hansley Mohan, Brown Altman's Leo, 538 Broad Hollow Road, Suite 301, Melville, New York, 11747.
Okay, you affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. For the record, we have a Planning Division memorandum dated September 9th, 2022. We have a Department of Environmental Control memorandum dated September 12th, 2022. If approved, this application may not result in significant environmental impact. We have a lot of stuff here. A survey by Gregory G. Gallus, dated 1/21/21. We also have site plans and surveys indicating the positioning of the signs by Christopher Tartaglia, dated 5/20/22. Indication of by each location of sign by SN-1 through SN-8. We also have a tax map as an area map.
And, Mr. Chairman, we have 9 photographs.
9 photographs, okay. Okay, so what would you like to tell us about this application?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the board. I'm here tonight with respect to the application of Bola Operating LI Corp. It's an application for sign variance relief in connection with the property located at 450 Comac Road in Deer Park. With me this evening is Christopher Tartaglia of High Point Engineering, the project engineer, and Amanda LaRosa of Stonefield Engineering, our project's traffic safety expert. Both experts are available should the board have any additional questions. By way of background, the property, which has a total lease area of approximately 62,922 square feet, or 1.44 acres, is located at the southwest corner of the signalized intersection of Comac Road and Marcus Boulevard. Comac Road is comprised of 4 lanes of traffic, 2 northbound, 2 southbound, with between 1 and 2 additional turning lanes at designated locations. The posted speed limit along Comac Road is 40 miles per hour. Marcus Boulevard is a 2-lane road that services the adjacent industrial area to the west and the southwest of the property. and has a posted speed limit of 30 miles an hour. So the property is surrounded all around by a mix of commercial and light industrial uses. To the north, across Marcus Boulevard, is a PC Richard & Son appliance store, as well as Diamond Trucking and a warehousing company. To the east, across Comac Road, is a shopping center that includes the Kohl's department store, a Leslie's pool supply store, a pet supply store, and a Stop and Shop. Further east along Marcus Boulevard is the BJ's Wholesale Club, as well as the Deer Park Tanger outlets. To the northeast of the property is Home Depot. Looking south to the property along Comac Road, there's a tile store along with a Citibank, and abutting the property to the southeast is the site of the soon-to-be-built Lidl grocery store. All of the aforementioned properties are located within the town's GA Light Industrial District. Traveling further south along Comac Road, there is similar uses that include a BP gasoline service station, as well as a mobile gasoline service station, each with accessory convenience stores. A 7-Eleven convenience store is also located at the southeast corner of Graham Boulevard and Comac Road. Currently, the property is under construction and will soon be improved with a Shell gasoline service station and Bola Market convenience store. The convenience store will also include a Burger King fast food offering as well. As shown on the sign plans prepared by High Point Engineering, the site will include 1 fuel canopy positioned over 3 diesel fuel dispensers on the north side of the lot near Marcus Boulevard. To the east, closer to Comac Road, there will be 8 fuel pumps and a second separate canopy positioned over those pumps. Tucked well into the southwestern corner of the lot behind both sets of canopies and pumps will be a 1-story, 3,159 square foot Bola Market convenience store. The special exception permit and area variance application for this property was approved by this board on October 14th, 2021. Tonight's application pertains only to the proposed signage to be erected at the property. To briefly summarize, we're requesting that the board grant the following variances. First, to permit 4 signs, including a logo sign, price sign, and ID sign, to be mounted to the 1 proposed ground sign pole. Second, to permit a ground sign with a height of 30 feet. Third, to permit a ground sign with a sign area of 136.5 square feet. Fourth, to permit a price sign with a sign area of 42.75 square feet. Fifth, to permit 3 wall signs on the eastern elevation of the proposed convenience store. And sixth, to permit a total of 2 canopy signs on the eastern elevations of each proposed canopy. With respect to this last variance, I just wanted to bring to the board's attention that both in the building permits denial as well as the planning department's memorandum, the variance relief called for 2 signs to be erected on a single canopy on the eastern elevation. But as, Chris, if you could do me a favor and just show the sign plans for the canopy signs, we actually have 1 sign per each canopy that both face the eastern elevation. So whereas the code permits 1 canopy sign per wall, that complies with the plans as submitted. So we just wanted to bring that to the board's attention in the event that it was a minor error. To the extent that for the interpretation of the code, section 213-400A does necessitate sign variance relief for the canopy signs, we propose that the sign variances are required because the diesel lettering, which the town planning department's memorandum requested that we provide a little bit more information regarding, is a matter of safety. Because we have 2 separate designated fueling areas, 1 for diesel and 1 for commercial vehicles with regular fuel, it's important to distinguish where the cars should go towards fueling for the correct fuel type. The worst case scenario is for someone to enter the site and incorrectly go to the wrong pump and then have to make a either unsafe maneuver within the site and interfere with safe site circulation, or have to then exit out to the west, turn back onto Marcus Boulevard, and then travel down south onto Comac Road to re-enter the site. With respect to the variance to permit the 4 signs per pole, we submit that it is necessary given the various offerings at the property as well as the prices for the different types of fuel. We respectfully note that similar variance relief has been previously granted by this board. For an example, it can be found in ZBA decision number 17-31 and 22-65, which were both decisions that approved increasing the number of signs per pole from 1 to 4. The variance to install a total of 3 wall signs on the eastern elevation of the convenience store fronting Comac Road is also not substantial and conforms to the commercial character of the area. Given that the property will have multiple uses that include the Bola Market, gasoline service station, and Burger King, the number of wall signs proposed is the minimum necessary to advertise the goods and services offered at the property. We also note that one of the wall signs is the standard Bola placard, which is a non-illuminated precast stone wall placard that is more effectively a feature of the building than it is a traditional illuminated sign. In application number 17-31, 21-154, and 22-65, this board approved identical variance relief and permitted a total of 3 wall signs to be erected on a single elevation. The price sign the price sign variance is also a necessity, as customers are more conscious of the price of gasoline now than ever before. Since motorists are predominantly price shoppers and the site is offering both regular and diesel fuel, it is essential that the ground sign display the available prices for the different types of fuel offered at the property. As mentioned previously, Comac Road has a posted speed limit of 40 miles per hour. Assuming, objectively speaking, that a motorist is driving the actual speed limit, it is imperative that the price sign be large enough to ensure visibility at such speeds at the required distance necessary to make a safe maneuver into the site. Our traffic expert, Amanda La Rosa, will discuss the issue of legibility of the price sign in further detail. For now, we submit that similar variance relief was granted by this board in application numbers 16-210 and 21-227, which approved an increased price sign area of 50 square feet, where a maximum of 12 square feet was permitted. In this instance, our proposed price sign is actually smaller than what was previously approved. The proposed height variance for the ground sign is necessitated by the limited visibility at the property. The convenience store, which is already obstructed on the north and eastern side by several fuel pumps and 2 overhead canopies, is set back approximately 175 feet from Comac Road. For vehicles traveling southbound on Comac Road at approximately 40 miles per hour, visibility of the convenience store is obstructed not just by the site features itself, but also by the nearby buildings to the north. As shown on the sightline exhibits prepared by Stonefield Engineering and to be discussed in greater detail shortly, the limited visibility does not provide motorists with sufficient time to identify the goods and services offered, make a decision as to whether they wish to enter the property, and safely maneuver into the site. Increasing the height of the sign helps alleviate this issue by increasing visibility beyond nearby obstructions. Granting the requested variance for the height of the ground sign will ensure that drivers have enough time to identify the goods and services offered at the property and to safely maneuver into the site. Similarly, the need for the proposed sign area is twofold. First and foremost, to promote safety and to preserve the well-being of motorists along Comac Road. As previously mentioned, visibility is a prominent issue at this site. Given that motorists are traveling down Comac Road at 40 miles per hour or faster, the amount of time left for drivers to maneuver into the site after deciding to do so is considerably limited. The ID signs provide advance notice to motorists in an effort to afford them extra time to safely change lanes or perform whatever other safe driving maneuvers are required to enter the site. Without this extra time afforded by the ID signs, motorists may come to sudden stops or perform abrupt lane changes to reach their desired destination. The proposed sign area is also required to ensure the long-term economic viability of the property. As the town is well aware, BOLA has been and continues to be the gold standard throughout the town when it comes to landscaping, aesthetic value, lighting, and safety. In order to maintain such a standard, the site must be able to attract potential customers traveling along Comac Road and Marcus Boulevard. The primary means of accomplishing this is through the proposed ground sign, which is compliant with the code in other respects, such as the setback and clearance requirements. Given the unique configuration of the lot, the location of the pump islands and canopy, as well as the distance from Comac Road, the ability to properly advertise the goods and services offered is essential to maintaining the viability of the site. It is also worth noting that a similarly sized sign is located just across Comac Road at the northeast corner of the intersection of Comac Road and Marcus Boulevard. Proposed signage is consistent with similar existing signage in the area, and accordingly there will be no adverse impact on the community, and the benefit to the applicant cannot be achieved by other means. Similar variance relief has been granted in application number 16-210, where this board approved a 80 square foot monument sign at a similar gasoline service station. In decision number 22-65, this board also approved two ground signs with an individual square footage for the total sign area of 88.3 square feet. In case number 98-346, variance relief was granted for an enlarged roof sign where visibility was a primary issue. In the board's decision, it was noted that the magnitude of the variance was considered to be not substantial when viewed in the context of the lack of visibility at the property. The board also found that there would be no adverse impact on the community because the increase to the visibility of the signage allowed drivers to have a clear indication of their desired destinations and made them able to make prudent and safe maneuvers rather than sudden last-minute turns. We respectfully request that this board consider the same circumstances here when determining whether to approve the requested variance relief. At this time, welcome any questions that the board may have for either our project engineer or our traffic safety expert.
What's the speed limit on Comac Road?
Comac Road speed limit is posted at 40 miles per hour, and for Marcus Boulevard, it is 30 miles per hour.
Do you have any evidence of, or approvals for a ground sign that is 30 feet high in this town that was approved by us in the past?
Doing FOIL investigations into nearby similar situated properties along Comac Road, we are still awaiting results from our FOIL request, which hopefully we're supposed to get them by the end of this week. But other than that, we have nothing that I can recall.
So you don't have any evidence of a 30-foot ground sign anywhere in the town of Babylon? That's been approved?
I can only speak to the documents we've obtained thus far. We have not done an extensive search throughout the entirety of the town to say that we definitively have not found one.
Okay. The diesel sign is illuminated, and you're saying that's just to designate that this is for diesel so that people don't misconstrue gasoline with diesel. But aren't there pumps that pump multi-fuels, diesel and gasoline, in other gas stations where you could choose either handle for gasoline or diesel? So, I mean, the sign is kind of big there, and it's illuminated, and if you have pumps that pump gasoline and diesel, you know, the same thing, it's not a matter of a customer pulling up and making a mistake. And to have a sign that big. Good thing. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. Chris Tartaglia from High Point Engineering, 1860 Walt Whitman Road, Melville, New York, 11747.
Do you affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To field that question, the document I put up here on the left. So as Hansley indicated, so there are actually two fueling locations, two fueling canopies. On the document to my left, right next to the building, just to the north side, that's a diesel only. So that would be the truck and diesel fueling canopy only. So that's actually where we're proposing the diesel sign. As Hansley mentioned, when a truck pulls onto the property, we want to make sure that that truck knows here's where the diesel is. Now, obviously, the second time he's on the site, he'll know, but the first time is the one time that we want to make sure that he's not pulling into the vehicle, the car fueling islands. The car fueling islands are the ones located along the east side, along Comac Road. So the diesel sign is really less a matter of advertising and more a matter of providing a significant directive to a truck to say, hey, trucks, we want you to come to this side of the site and please don't pull into the islands. Because to your point, a lot of gas stations do have the pumps with both nozzles on them, the gas and the diesel. We've specifically designed a separate diesel fueling lane completely out of the way of the circulation area for the motor vehicles, for the passenger vehicles, as a means of safety. So we want to keep those trucks at the diesel island, keep the car at the gas islands.
So you're designing this for a tractor trailer to pull in underneath that canopy? For all.
Yeah, that's correct. That'll accommodate both tractor trailers and larger box trucks, things of that nature, other diesel vehicles.
Are all the canopies the same height?
Yes.
And if a tractor trailer does pull in that area, I'm trying to see where it is located. The trailer itself is going to have enough room to come off the streets, right? Underneath that canopy? Or should it be over here?
Yeah, we've designed the site using the modeling for a 65-foot tractor trailer, which is the largest tractor trailer on the road, and they can make it in and out of the facility without any conflicts with any of the structures or curbing. Mr. Chairman, if I may, just one item that was not mentioned, and I think it may help to answer your question. So this exhibit here, this is our neighbor to the northwest at our intersection, northeast, excuse me. So we're located at the southwest corner of the intersection as shown. So the entrance to the Tanger Outlets Mall is directly across the way. So this is the sign that's located at the northeast side of the intersection, catty corner against where ours is proposed. Now, to Hansley's point, we did FOIL the records. We didn't get them back, so we cannot attest to the legality or what this board might have approved for the Tanger Outlets. However, I bring this up only to just speak to the character of the area, that it is a highly commercialized and industrialized roadway, and our sign is roughly 10 feet shorter than this. This sign's about 40 feet to the peak, and our sign would be roughly about half of the area.
That sign's 40 feet to the peak?
Roughly, yeah. Based on, I'm thinking in 10-foot panels here, I believe we've got about 40. Again, I couldn't measure it. We didn't have the opportunity to do that. But just looking at the location of the wires and the poles next to it and knowing that it's significantly taller than the pole, it's probably about 40 feet. So our sign is actually shorter as proposed.
Okay. I believe planning wants to revisit some questions here. I'm going to defer to them. Is there any other questions from the board?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would like to present Amanda LaRosa, who will discuss in detail what I mentioned previously about the sightline matter of the property.
Okay.
Good evening, Amanda LaRosa with Stonefield Engineering and Design.
Firm to tell the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
My office is at 584 Broadway, Suite 310, New York, New York. As Hansley mentioned, we were brought on to review the sightlines for the project. The first thing that we did in reviewing this was looking at the sightline coming southbound on Comac Road for visibility lines to the building. Based on the speed limit, a passenger car traveling at exactly the speed limit of 40 miles an hour needs 715 feet of distance going at the speed limit to see a site, any site type of facility, and make the decision to turn in. At 715 feet, the building is obstructed by the PC Richards at the northwest corner of the intersection. So based on this, we reviewed standards for the next best option if the site itself isn't visible, the building that is. And the AASHTO guidelines do suggest that if you can't provide the adequate sight lines to provide the decision site distance, that some type of advance warning should be provided. We're proposing to do so in the form of the ground-mounted sign. The next thing that we looked at in terms of the ground-mounted sign itself was providing the adequate visibility to actually read the sign. The MUTCD suggests a minimum ratio of 1 inch of letter height for every 30 feet of legibility distance. So at the 715 feet, that is a 24-inch letter height.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any questions?
No? Any questions from the board? For the record, there are none. Okay. We're going to hold the decision, reserve it, and we'd like you to set up another meeting with planning. Is there anyone who would like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none. Okay? Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Randy. Where's Chris's?
That's not mine.
Application 22-137, A&G Gas and Services.
Good evening. Tanuja Mudgal for 328 Route 109, West Babylon, New York.
You affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Thank you. For the record, we have a Planning Division memorandum dated September 9th, 2022. We have a Department of Environmental Control memorandum dated September 13th, 2022. Recommendations or storage of propane tanks must be to satisfaction of the Division of Fire Safety. If approved, this application may not result in significant environmental impact. Suffolk County Department of Economic Development and Planning states that this is a matter of local determination and is not to be construed for either an approval or a disapproval. We have a survey by BBV Civil Engineers dated March 14th, 2018. We have a site plan and a tax map. A site plan and a tax map. The site plan is dated 6/23/75, and a tax map as an area map.
We have 3 photographs, Mr. Chairman.
What would you like to tell us about this application?
I would like to request the renewal of my permit for the propane, barbecue propane cage.
I'm sorry, say again?
I would like to request the renewal of the permit of the barbecue propane cage for my location.
Thank you. Turn the hearing over to Ms. McCullough.
All right, I stopped by the site today. Everything was neat. The propane tanks were caged. Business is good. No accidents.
None.
Great. I have no further questions.
Any questions from the board? Would anyone like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve application number 22-137 for 3 years.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay. Application 22-142, Elite Prospect Training Incorporated.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Allison Lapointe. I'm with the firm Sir Tillman Ballin Adler Hyman. Offices at 100 Motor Parkway, Suite 560, Hauppauge, New York 11788. I am here representing Elite Prospect Training as well as the property owner, 171 Mill Bar Owner LLC. I do have a letter of representation to submit.
Okay, just for the record, we have a Planning Division memorandum dated September 12th, 2022. Department of Environmental Control memorandum dated September 14th, 2022. A couple of recommendations here. Special exception permit of amusement. Fire Department, Fire Marshal's investigation permit, but I'm trying to read this. It's kind of hard to read. Let me see what the recommendation is on that. Is this, I can't read it. Give me 1 minute on.
Certainly.
As attached credit report. How do you read this?
This one's easier.
It is?
Tenant has open court case since 2015, it looks like. 18.
Okay.
Can you read it out loud from there?
Tenant has open court case since 2018. We do not believe that they have a certificate of occupancy for the public assembly use or interior alterations to construct the space. There is no issued public assembly permit as required from the fire marshal's office. The last court date we have from January 2022 shows a default judgment for this application.
Thank you very much. What would you like to tell us about this application?
Mr. Chairman, we have 14 photographs and a site plan by Christopher Thomas Labat.
Thank you very much. It is correct what is the fire marshal has put forth. The reason we're here is because we are looking to bring the property into compliance. So this is one of the steps along the way to be able to get to our permits and our COs. So what we have before you this evening is a baseball and softball training facility. It is located on Millbar Boulevard and is against New Highway. So we're in the New Highway Route 110 corridor. So the use as it exists, my understanding is it was originated in 2007 and then purchased by my client in 2016. Trains student athletes in baseball and softball. They're teaching proper skills, they're teaching proper recuperation, and the goal really is not only just to get them to be the best athletes that they can be, but also to keep them injury-free. So the use as it exists has 13 cages. I noticed there's some questions from planning regarding how many staff and how it operates. There are 13 cages. The approximate maximum occupancy we could have on the site is around 40 individuals. If every cage is staffed, it would be 1 staff member and 2 student athletes in a cage, which would bring us to about 40 people maximum. The parking that's required is based upon occupancy. The occupancy is based upon square footage. I believe the occupancy is calculated around 274 people. The very nature of the functionality of the space, it would be absolutely impossible to have that many people in the space, which is why the calculation for parking is so high. If you applied the same 1 space to 4 occupants calculation to the functional reality, you'd be much closer to 10 or 11 parking spaces required. So we are here for twofold requests. The first is to request for this special exception to allow this use in this space. The code does not define what a place of recreation or an event space like this really is. It may be, especially with the higher parking calculations, really more akin to seeing like a trampoline place where you'd have large numbers of people in there. This is a training facility. So when we're looking at the overall history of the site, the building was built in 1960. It was extended in 1978. There were 2 previous parking variances granted by this board. One is number 744, which reduced the number of required parking spaces to 38 cars. The second is number 1554, which was granted in 1978, which reduced the number of required parking spaces by 41 cars. Because of how they're granted, we don't know if it's similar to the relief we're requesting herein, because it doesn't tell you X number required, this many proposed. The neighborhood is heavily developed, as you can see from the aerial. It's in a heavily industrial area. The remaining 44,000 square feet of the warehouse is just warehouse and accessory office. As I mentioned, the operation first opened in around 2007, and my client purchased it in 2016. All of the training is done by appointment only. This is not just an open, walk in the door and get some training. So the traffic flow and the parking flow is strictly controlled by how many students they can handle at any given time, depending on how many staff are on. My client informs me that there are approximately 6 full-time trainers, and that can fluctuate to some additional part-time trainers depending on the time of year and whether you're in a peak season. The peak season for this use begins towards the end of October and ramps up during the winter, not as much in the spring and summer, because that's when the student athletes are training with their teams and actually playing. There may be a little bit of, most of the training that happens during that time of year is someone needs to tweak something in their pitch or in their batting stance, or if somebody's rehabbing from an injury and looking to get back at it. The schedule starts about 2 o'clock to about 10 p.m. Again, these are student athletes. You're only going to have people there for training when they're out of school. So staff might get there around 2 p.m. By the time you start scheduling the appearances, it might be closer to 3. Training takes place in 30-minute, 1-hour, and 2-hour increments, depending on the package and the training that they're seeking. As I said, with the 13 cages, even if you had the maximum number of trainers on site and the maximum number of students on site, you're not going to see more than 40 people. The interior is not set up in a way that a parent could stay and watch. There's no gallery for watching. There's limited waiting room space. So largely, parents are doing dropping off, heading over to 110 to run some errands, coming back through for a pickup. So this is not an extended parking situation. Also, the hours of operation are very symbiotic to the other uses, as they are off hours for the majority of the warehouse use. There may be a little bit of an overlap between that 3 to 5 area, but really not by much. And largely, the lot is underparked. There really are not many cars parked. You'll see in the photographs that were circulated, those were taken on a Friday afternoon. You'll see that there might be 10 cars in the parking lot, 11 cars. You can see on the aerial, we don't have an awful lot. I don't know what time that photograph was taken, but seeing as the majority of the cars are on the side of the business that we're here to speak about, it may be during one of our more peak hours. And again, the vast majority are drop-off and then pick up. From the special exception perspective, the use is entirely enclosed in the building, so there's no impact to the usability of any of the neighboring properties. Again, I believe it's truly the best type of use for a lot that is overbuilt and where no additional parking could be developed because their hours counter each other. So you don't have to worry about everyone arriving to work at the same time and leaving. So from the perspective of the special exception, I think it is very much so within the spirit of the code to allow this use to continue and to be formalized on this site. In terms of the variance relief for the number of parking spaces, because of the zoning categorization as a place of amusement and the occupancy based upon the square footage, we're required for the entirety of the site to provide 157 spaces. The occupancy requires around 70, as well as one or two spaces for the office space. We've actually, I believe, reduced the number of spaces on the site through planning a little bit to increase maneuverability and functionality of the parking lot, and that was handled through the planning process. As you'll see in your file, we have planning approval from April, which was then amended slightly in June because we recognized that the parking calculations were slightly off and we wanted to make sure that was cleaned up. So as I stated, a place of amusement requires 1 parking space for every 4 occupants. The occupancy based on square footage puts us at 274 people, which is just physically impossible. To be flippant a little bit, everyone would get hit in the head with the pitch. It's just absolutely impossible to handle that on the site. From the perspective of nature and character of the community, the use is entirely enclosed within the building. The parking paradigm works. There are no complaints for the lack of the ability to park adequately there. And again, the space has been in operation for such a long period of time. If there was a significant problem, it certainly would have come up by now. The off hours makes this more akin to a shared parking experience rather than a cumulative parking experience. And frankly, I believe this sort of use actually improves the nature and character of the community because with the off hours, you're now adding liveliness and activity in an area that's usually largely dormant in the evening and weekend hours. From a feasibility perspective, again, the building was built in the early 1960s, expanded in 1978, and has 2 parking variances already. There's literally not another place you could put a usable parking spot on this site. So outside of moving the use, which is not financially viable, and putting it into another location, there's no feasible alternative under the code for us to pursue. Substantiality, we respect that it could be determined that this is numerically a substantial request, but substantiality is also a contextual argument. In the context of the fact that the parking absolutely functions very well on this site, that with the symbiotic timelines of when the business is open or not, I put forth that while numerically it could be recognized as a substantial request in the functionality of it and with the nature of the surrounding community and the lack of impacts, the request really is not truly that substantial. From an environmental perspective, there's a limited increase in traffic due to this use. It's really no different than any of the other uses that you'd see. I'd even put forth that perhaps seeing as there are industrial uses in the area that perhaps it could be a little bit lower. And it's entirely enclosed. And from a larger environmental perspective, it's probably far less impactful than many of the permitted uses in the G industrial zone. So it is my contention that this is the least variance necessary in order to allow this business to continue in operation in what we feel is a very good location for this use. And I am open to any questions. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll put 2 more things in. I do have from the planning board minutes I'd like to submit where there's recognition from the planning board that the parking paradigm does work on the site. And I also put forth that in your packets you have the planning board approval, which has a condition in there that if at any time the parking ceases to function appropriately, that the matter will be reopened at the planning department and the planning board, and conditions requiring a shared parking paradigm with neighboring properties would be required as a condition of approval. If that were to be the case and suddenly there was a major paradigm shift in how this property functions, again, we would be sent back to the planning board and would have to seek cross-access and cross-parking agreements. In the event that was necessary, we don't anticipate that being a problem at all, as there's a very strong relationship between this property and neighboring properties, so much so that some neighboring properties, when they have seminars, utilize the parking on our site. So I'll submit to you the minutes of the planning board hearing from August 23rd, 2021. Now I will stop talking, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, in regards to the open court case and the comments from the fire marshal, how do you intend to address that?
So in order to address the comments, to lift the violation, we have to get our variance relief here, so that way we may submit our building permit and submit our occupancy permits, so that way we can move forward and clear up those violations. You are, again, one of the steps along the way. We had to start in planning, and now we're here.
Okay. I have no further questions. Any questions from the board?
So there will be no outside use for this facility?
There's no outside use, no.
Okay, and hours of operation on the weekends?
Yes, so, and I do have, the property owner is here if you'd like to ask some additional questions to the very nitty-gritty of the operation. My understanding is that there's operations on Saturday, but not Sunday? Well, if you want to speak, you got to come up.
My name's Arthur DeMichael. I'm the tenant. So
Okay, name and address for the record, please.
3645 Nimrod Street, Seaford, New York.
Your name again, please?
Arthur DeMichael.
Okay, and you affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So our business hours are not really set. It's based on the season. We're closed Saturdays and Sundays from Memorial Day to the end of October. Then we open up on Saturday. We open up on Sunday in December when the need arises. You know, you start to get some of the younger kids in. We don't have room for them during the week. So we spread it out to Sunday, and we kind of go 7 days a week. But Sunday is a very short day. Saturday could be a regular day. But all of those warehouse tenants, none of them are there on the weekends. And we do have good relationships with the neighbor across the street and across the way, that huge parking lot. I let them use my parking lot like in the summer when they're doing, there's a big freight company that does seminars, and I guess they train tractor-trailer drivers. So they use my parking lot. I have access to their parking lot. Don't have to ask, don't have an agreement, but if I do need, if there is a little bit of overflow, there's two substantial parking lots pretty much touching the property.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
What do you consider a short day on Sunday?
9 to 3, 9 to 2.
And regular hours on Saturday would be?
9 to 5, 9 to 6.
Okay, for the record, would anyone like to be heard on this application? For the record, there are none. We're going to reserve our decision at this time, and we'd like to see just addressing that fire marshal's report and everything a little bit more further. We'll get you a decision in the mail, okay? We'll give you...
Do you require me to submit any additional information in terms of that?
Not at this time.
Okay. I thank you very much.
If I could just add, the fire marshal did come back to re-inspect all of our life safety systems and emergency lighting. That's all been done. I mean, and these guys have the paperwork. I mean, I've been talking to so many different people over the last couple of years, but that system has been tested and approved.
All right, he'll give us updates then, which we don't have right now. We just have that one statement from him. As soon as we get that, we'll be able to give you a decision at a later date.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good evening.
Me?
How are you? Yes, nice to meet you. you, you too. Would you like me to continue, Mr. Chairman, as we have many reserved items that I can roll through?
Okay. Very good.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Pamela Green, Office of the Town Attorney. If we can continue with the remainder of the agenda, moving on to page 7, the application is Roll Right Towing. We are still holding that until the sign permit is received and they can have both variance and sign relief requested heard together. Moving on to page 8 of the agenda, the application is 21-237 Patterson Brothers. I'll call the board's attention to item number 4 in your correspondence. It's a letter from counsel for Patterson Brothers that they had submitted updated site plan. However, Ms. Riley advises that planning is recommending a pre-site inspection take place based off the plans to show less parking than was originally requested. So if the board would continue to hold that, to allow that inspection to take place. Moving on to page 9 of the agenda, the application is 22-077 Izet Ceylon. We are still waiting for new plans from that applicant. Moving on to the bottom of page 9, the application is 22-081 Porfirio Gennaro. And please refer to item number 1 in the board's correspondence, a memo from Building Permits Coordinator Rich Normoyle. Item number 1. Item number 1 in your correspondence will advise that a revised survey was received that shows that the shed is now on the survey, which was not previously shown. The shed is in a conforming location, does not require a building permit. Having now received an updated survey, we have no other reason to continue to hold this application.
Okay.
This property is located in Copeg.
Mr. Delabecchia? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the top of page 10, application 22-083, Joanne McGinnis. The board has been very patient in waiting for the homeowner to comply with the request to cut back the awning. If there is no communication from this applicant, we will recommend at the next meeting that the board move on making a decision on this. Moving on to the bottom of page 10, the application is 22-072 Central Irrigation Supply. We are still waiting a new site plan, and Ms. Riley provided a list of engineering and architects in order to provide those new plans. Moving on to page 11, the application is 22-125 95 East Booker Corp. Ms. Riley also spoke with them, and they were hoping to submit revised plans by the end of the week or the beginning of next week. And finally, moving on to the bottom of page 11, we have 22-131, Christine Sewell. The board will recall that this application was heard last week. There was an issue with 2 doors being depicted on the plans, which is not permitted, nor was that variance advertised. So the board, I believe, was under the impression that they were going to substitute a window for one of the doors, but we have not received those new plans, and we're waiting to see what the architect plans to do.
That was wrong with the second front door setback, I believe.
Correct. And the second one that we're moving on to now, the top of page 12, 22-132, Michael Abruzzo, was the same issue with 2 doors, and I believe the architect still wishes to pursue that variance, but has to provide new plans and add that to the requested variance. Anything to add, Ms. Riley? Thank you. Moving on to the bottom of page 12, the application is 22-107. Again, this was heard last week and held as we were waiting for the fire marshal. Item number 3 in your correspondence, item number 3, is the report from the fire marshal. All is in order, and this may be moved, and this property is located in Deer Park.
I make a motion, we approve application 22-107 for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to page 13, the application is 22-134, DPA Restoration Services, and we were asking for revised site plans to show outdoor storage. Those have not been received, which brings us to our last page, your correspondence. Item number 1 was the memo from Rich Normoyle regarding application 22-081. Item number 2 was the letter of concern and opposition regarding application 22-140 of Christopher Perez. Item number 3 was your fire marshal's report regarding 22-107. Item number 4 was a letter from Mr. Constantino advising that the revised site plan had been submitted regarding application 21-237. Finally, in your board's packet, if you would please note item number 5, there will be a land use training program held at Hofstra University on Monday, October 24th. This is an in-person live program beginning in the evening. It will provide all board members with training credits as you are required to fulfill your training requirements. So if you would please note that date, I will continue to provide you with more information. You will need to register directly with Hofstra, but please put that on your calendar at this time. Lastly, the board had heard the application of Yore Vaca at 29 15th Street in West Babylon, and the board will recall that this was heard on August 11th. There was video testimony regarding the outside barbecue located in the built gazebo, which was built without plans or permission. And the board had then voted to refer this matter to council for written findings and contemplation of denial. Pleasure. As council is preparing those findings, I was asked to come back to this board, and it can be held over until the chairman is present next week, to further clarify the direction, as there were 8 variances requested in connection with this application. The first was to diminish front yard setback from 30 to 23.7, and the planning memo indicated that planning did not object to that variance. The last 2 variances, item number 7 and 8, were amended to decrease the lot line and the east side line from 2 feet to 10 inches and 8 inches, respectively, for pavers, which is not out of line with prior approvals the board has granted. So if I may, again, request that this be held over till next week so the chairman can look at it, but have the board consider if they might wish to recall this application to clarify its direction to council as far as which variances it wishes to have findings prepared for.
Okay, so we're going to hold it till next week.
Yes.
And there was some discussion about this gazebo and the barbecue, that it should be denied and it should be done away with. Removed.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll further that next week. We'll continue that next week.
Thank you. That puts us to accepting the minutes of August 18th.
Chairman, I make a motion to accept the minutes of August 18th, 2022.
All in favor?
And for your review are the minutes of September 8th. We thank Ms. Schneider for her fast and immediate excellent turnaround. With that, we can move to a motion to adjourn.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a very nice evening.